It's connecting. It's recording.
Oh, shit.
I love that. How to keep track of them.
Yeah.
I need to go through this. Oh, gosh, I hate seeing myself on camera. Oh,
Yeah, every time
frightens
it's like
me.
picture. I know.
So, we gotta make sure we get the chat up because we always have to allow people in.
Not forget about the people online this time. You can't, cool.
Did Austin say he was gonna be here?
He didn't mention he was gonna, but I'll ask him. I don't know if Stuart's gonna be here. She hasn't replied, but,
More minutes. We're officially at the right time.
but Sergeant Sanders said he would come to the next one. So he's gonna come meet everyone, and introduce himself.
And who's Sergeant Sanders?
He is the head of the HRC squad that is around the Geraldine King Center, Tafford Park over there, that has been with a team of 5 people working on that area, the quarter mile area since May. And they've made a great impact.
So they don't have anything over at the,
They have Gail Miller, but that's that's Meinzer, is Sergeant Meinzer, I think.
okay,
And he has people like 5 underneath him, so.
okay.
So there's the 2 areas, and then I think Sanders sometimes sends a couple of his guys down here for the street here.
Yeah.
So.
Welcome, Darren. Good, how you doing? Long time no see.
Grant.
Yeah, nice to meet you. I
Hello.
don't think so.
I'm Brandy, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I think we have reached out to somebody about
Who did?
Joy Hatch. She may
Yeah.
have reached out to
Over there, she with the
Yes.
south.
the Southern Utah Wilderness.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fine, how are you? Good.
There is a chair and you can take it if you want one. I got it.
Some of you I've seen twice in a day.
Wow, we're talking. Popular today,
Get it around here now.
right? Hello, welcome.
Thank you. Of course.
Okay. Bill. Sorry, we just only got what we got.
No, she's working at the airport.
Welcome.
Thank you.
You should let me hold it.
I know, everybody's, I try to explain to them the value of friendship, it does not hurt.
Oh, you go, baby.
And like, the thing we shared, you want more of that? No. We don't, can we stay? We're gonna sit right here.
Oh,
What are we waiting on anyone else?
is that me?
I don't think so. And anybody else can join. We've got like a really long agenda today, and I apologize for that because things just kind of got away with me. So we'll try to run through things quickly if we can. There's extra ones up here if anybody wants to follow along. We had the sign-in page. One of the things that we were trying to make a distinction on is whether or not you wanted to be
Hmm?
notified per event, which would be like if we're having neighborhood, hot crisis
think it's-
going
oh,
on
wow,
or anything like
multiple
that,
ones.
you'd like be like in text messages and probably receive.
I don't
lots and
need
lots
one
of
'cause I have
messages,
mine
be part of the
over here.
Conversation, that would be the events notification on the sign-in page. Otherwise, if you just want to get like notified of like, just general information when our next meetings are and that kind of a thing, that would be the other text box. And we're on Zoom, so if anybody comes on Zoom there, we should be posted in the Facebook page. I think everybody came in here through the Facebook page, one second, maybe you could, cable Brady. So one of the things that we had still not quite resolved was we've got ourselves a name now, the Community Care Coalition, the Triple C.
Please let me in.
There was some question as to whether or not we wanted to organize, like, do we want to create a nonprofit organization? And if so, what kind of a nonprofit organization? But I imagine it would probably be like a 501 C something. So that's what I've got in here. There's like the 3, the 4, the F. Like the Downtown Alliance, the 6.
Oh, wow.
So they're all different kinds of things that we can be in. One of the, I think, things to be aware of is if you're gonna do a regular 501c3, that you can't engage in any kind of political action whatsoever.
Louder.
Hello, welcome.
Oh, it's all one. Multi-page, but
We're still
I've seen-
early enough to catch all the
Share.
news, so we're trying to figure out what kind of organization we want to be. If we're going to incorporate and become like an official organization in any way. We could also still just be like an LLC or any other kind of an organization. It's still totally open for discussion. But it seems that this is probably gaining enough interest that it will persist for a while, so it kind of makes sense for us to officially be organized.
Can I ask this question then, Ben? So
Yes.
like the reason that really, the other topic, the side topic, would that be part of this or separate in terms of like HOAs in this community?
Well,
Their needs.
So we've got a mission statement for our organization. It's to create a safe and healthy and an environment that we all enjoy, something to that extent.
Okay, so that fits
So I think
in
it
with
fits
it,
in.
yeah.
And I think, particularly where we're talking about enjoyment, where we've got developers that are developing potential properties. And that how is that property contributing to the enjoyment of our community?
That works.
It makes a lot of
yeah.
sense. And also where they make the community not so enjoyable while they are in the process of doing their developing as well. So I think it fits within all of that. And a big part of a lot of the problems that we have is because of irresponsible developers. So we would like to curtail that as much as we possibly can, whether it be for new buildings or like the old buildings that are just badly neglected.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any opinions about how we should organize?
we think long term, one benefit of being a nonprofit, even if we're small, would be we'd be able to partner with other nonprofits to take on grants, things like that.
Right, so the different kinds of nonprofits, do you have any kind of an opinion about that? Like whether you do the 501c3 or the civic league social welfare organizations or a cooperative service organization?
Well, I think that the 501c3 is
Okay.
pretty easy. I mean, the political one, you have to go through the IRS, it's a little bit more complicated, but even if we didn't have any kind of like, my understanding is, working with other ones, depending on the level of the nonprofit, we still might have to work with like the larger district one, to manage grants, things like that, so.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think, that makes sense, since we're a smaller group within the larger district.
Okay, and then like I said, if we were gonna do the C3, then we would just need to make sure that we don't get politically active. Which I don't have a problem with, but
Well,
sometimes.
it's usually not a good idea to mix politics and community, because then you could split the community, is my opinion.
That's fair, but again, it's just a decision that we need to make, so because we will all have to shoulder the repercussions of that decision later on, right? Whether good, bad, or indifferent, so it just needs to be something that is open for discussion. So I'm fine with a 501c3 if everybody else is, okay? Does anybody want to actually like do that work?
I don't know how to do it, but Austin can help us probably. He said ours up for the council.
I've made one before. It's really not hard if you just follow boilerplate stuff and we're not doing anything particularly unusual or difficult, so
How funny to get, I forget.
yeah, I mean, it's just regular filing organization with the state. It's not, I think it's like,
Hey, Bryce.
it's less than $100, whatever it is. Okay, and then I guess we'll have to assign members of the board and all of that kind of stuff. And I think we'd probably push all that off to like the next meeting, or if anybody wants to get excited about that before the next meeting, we could do that then. Okay, good enough. We were talking about, we wanted some logo and branding.
I'm on it, coach.
Okay, do we have anybody else that's artistically inclined that wants to participate in that process at all?
Nobody else like her.
So I would be happy to.
I can
take-
draw a stick figure.
I'd love to take some input if we wanted to do like a brainstorming mission, sorry. I'm gonna get behind you too, I apologize. You don't need to move, you're okay. I would take some input if anybody has some ideas, or thoughts about what we want our logo to say about us.
Yeah.
Should we just make that kind of like a call to action as homework for like everybody send your ideas?
Sure, unless somebody has something on top of mind.
Not really.
Okay.
I just had that,
Think about
the basic
Okay.
one in Canva. Did you see my one in Canva? It's just the logo that's on the Facebook group. Very boring.
I don't do the Facebook.
Oh, okay.
No.
So.
it. It's basically the Central City Neighborhood Council
Oh, I see.
with our words in it.
Yeah, it's nothing
Okay,
special. but-
Okay, we're gonna.
But
get-
but it is something that's somewhat familiar, so
Okay, great, perfect.
take some inspiration from that.
Maybe we could always show up at planning meetings with t-shirts that match.
I have a.
Yeah,
great-
that was one of the things too that we were talking about, like if we were doing the 501, actually, not even if we're a nonprofit, but do some sort of fundraising thing, if we wanted to be able to have some money at our disposal for doing like some of those administrative deals or whatever else might come down the way. A t-shirt thing has been proposed to me by people not in this room that, hey, I would buy a t-shirt, so that kind of goes along with the logo design.
Okay, perfect.
Also along that idea too was no trespassing signs that reflect our community values. I know the police have brought up before that we don't necessarily have prominent enough, no trespassing signs where it's fairly obvious. And I think there's a reason for that because people think that no trespassing signs are ugly. So I thought we should maybe make really beautiful ones that maybe communicate the message of our neighborhood and our culture and make a very clear distinction, you know, when the police are reading the sign. Yes, it's illegal and this is time for us to, you know, draw the line because the sign says so. These are where we draw our lines and our boundaries. And I think that making that more clear would be just great for everything. And I think if we could make it fun and reflect our community, then that would be an added bonus. And I think that's the kind of thing that in our community around here, people might want to buy those kinds of things.
Well, and I also like, I mean, I'm on Third. I don't know if you think of this community, I don't know if most of these people are on First. But yeah, it is an issue with people that gather on our steps at our building and they block entry and they put all their luggage and things down. And
Mhm.
sometimes they've had to imbibe too much and they
Yeah.
leave unsightly gross things for us to
So,
clean up.
so I think those are the kinds of things like, how could we engage the community and communicate with them in an effective way, but also in a fun way, in a friendly way that
Right.
people,
That
Positive.
shows like, yeah, this is where
Right.
private and public
right.
diverge.
If anybody's got some cute little sayings to make people chuckle while they go like, yeah, good point, I'm gonna move on.
Yes, please. send
That
those
would be
over to me.
great. Not an easy place to land. I understand it's a real creative process, but I don't know, somehow in my mind had envisioned no trespassing with a lot of little fine print. That would be kind of fun. I kind of reminiscent of the super top secret over at their old location. That on the alley, they had like all the things that they believe in and like you could stand there for like a half hour reading that thing and it was super entertaining.
Yeah, but we don't want them to stand there for a half hour.
Right.
To be the
Right.
whole purpose of it, finally.
Point being though, that if you have a fun and creative message, people will actually not just read it, but you know, have a deeper understanding.
Great.
Also, we get the group communication, the email, text. I bought a domain name, haven't put anything there. Is everybody still just cool with just the email and texting? Does anybody feel like they've been like left out of the group or that they would like to have more communication?
Does everyone have the Facebook group info, or if you don't have it, let me know and I can send it to you.
I don't have it, like this young lady, I also don't tend to do it, I have one under my dog's name, but I tend to not go on it.
Yeah, it's not necessary, just one that we could do quick messaging.
Communitycarecoalition.org.
Hell yeah.
Oh,
What is
I
it
mean, you
called?
can't
I'm
type it
sorry.
real fast, but you know.
No.
What did you say?
CommunityCareCoalition.org.
Yeah, yeah, 3-letter domain names are real tough to come by.
I like that.
I worked for a company, we bought one once, it was XYZ or
Ooh.
no, MYZ.com.
Hmm.
And it was like, Doesn't mean anything, but still costs like, I think it was like 26 grand at the time,
Oh, my God.
back in the day, back in the day.
Okay.
Group activities, we had a really good group activity before that kind of turned a little bit more into an expose when we did our trash gathering thing. Took a video of the inside of the Embassy Arms. I know that was not really the intention of, did you see that video?
I have no.
There's two of them, I can send to them.
Yeah, there's a couple. One, we just went up the outside fire escape of the Pauline. The other one, we got invited in by one of the maintenance guys that was at the embassy, and there were like people smoking blues in the stairwell, there were syringes on the
Huh?
Send
floors.
me
There were.
the videos as
If
well.
you've been in the building, I'm sure.
I
that
saw
you-
pictures, but not the videos.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
I've been there, yes.
Yeah.
text it to them.
You have me
I
on
love
Facebook.
that.
You
Yeah,
have me
we,
on Facebook.
we had
them
Austin
on
with
Facebook?
us.
You have me on
he's with
Facebook.
Oh,
the,
okay, so do you prefer that over
Yeah.
text?
Central City Community
It'll
or
be easier.
Network, Central City Neighborhood Council. So he's been, I think that kind of opened his eyes a little bit, and yes, this is another terrible situation, like we had down in River Rock. And so we're trying to work with like the, county health department and funding the low income. Whatever it
I'll
is,
take that back.
low income tax credit thing that they have, trying to, threaten that funding because they're not adhering to the guidelines of that low income housing, because they're not providing safe and healthy living for the people that are most vulnerable in our community.
Right.
They gotta live in my building. I know.
That's the problem.
I'm not better than anybody
We,
else,
we, we,
but
we
yeah.
all look at it,
I,
it's just
I
a
wanna
bad,
work, I wanna work for a better tomorrow.
yeah, and it's could always just be a matter of a couple of bad tenants, a few months here and there, and we could all be in the same situation, which, we want to avoid, so.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I have never met you.
I've never met you.
I know, do you cover this area?
No, so I'm actually, my name's Rob Ties, I'm the sergeant of the gang unit. So I've been in contact with Brandy about a lot of the stuff that was happening at River Rock.
Uh-huh.
What was your last name again?
Ties.
Oh, the name I cannot
The name
pronounce.
you can't
Nice to
pronounce.
meet you in person
Yeah.
finally.
Yeah.
Thank you, that's
So
awesome.
I'm just here to try to connect with, I'm trying to make it around to as many community councils like this, neighborhood watch programs as I can. Just to get exposed to the issues you guys are dealing with in general, but kind of more niche specific on the gang activity. I know there was a big problem with River Rock for a while. We had Cubo popping back up.
Oh.
So we were able to apply some suppression tactics there and mitigate it the best we can. And I know like this 300 East, 100 South corridor has been very active with drug distribution. Some of our patrol guys have notified us of some graffiti that potentially could be gang related, so that their presence is everywhere in the city. So my job is just to come connect with you guys, hopefully create a relationship where you feel comfortable reaching out to the police and the gang unit specifically, so you can apply those same aggressive tactics as you do.
Yeah, it really helped too, if we could kind of understand like what information in particular to
Yes.
go to you.
Okay.
One of the things I've had with the police lately is they tend to be a little bit too communicative to certain people that I've got a lot of like security camera footage that's like, nobody has the time to watch all of the security cameras.
Right, and it can be overwhelming, and that's kind of, like I said, we're kind of a niche. We attack just the gang issue.
Mhm.
We're more than happy to, police in general where we can.
Right,
Um,
but yeah, I would like to just, if we can, to just give you like as much precise information that's specifically for your needs as possible, so that I don't have that same mistake of just giving you too much and
I appreciate that.
getting you to, start like, oh, no, not
Randy.
again, and then.
Yeah,
kind
Oh,
of-
it's bad again.
Yeah.
I guess this community probably
Austin just
meets
joined.
every
Oh,
month.
cool, awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm more than happy to come
I
and just
sent
give
you
a
the
short
link, too.
10, 15
Yeah, I saw
minute
that. Thank
presentation,
you.
bring you guys some material on some of the indicators where gangs may be active in your community. And then we can discuss the specifics on what you can send to us that really helps us accelerate our efforts. Because sometimes it does, it takes us a long time to sift through a lot of noise to get to the actual problem. But if we can get those specifics, and we can come attack those things directly, I think that provides a better service to the community, and it's easier.
Right.
As far as allocating personnel and time to those problem areas for us.
And we want to make it easy for you.
Well, our job,
Easier.
compared to what you guys deal with, our job is easy. But, a lot of it's just time consumption if we're having to sift through a bunch of noise to get to the actual problem, so. You know, asking the community to mitigate that by educating you on what to look for,
Right,
I think helps both ends.
okay, great. So we put you gonna be agenda for next month then?
Yeah,
I can,
That'd be great.
I can get with, I don't even know who Brandy is.
I'm Brandy, the vice chair. Nice to meet you formally and officially.
Yes. So I can communicate with Brandy and, get the date, you're always good about sending me emails.
Yes, and I just sent you text on the two videos, the YouTube videos.
Okay, perfect.
So, and yeah, and I have a Google photo album that I upload gang graffiti to that I don't know if you still look at it or not, but
I don't know, I know, you probably work with Detective Tejas.
yes,
I know he's the one I kind of assigned to the River Rock issues.
yes,
So he probably gets those.
okay,
And I know the ones, and it's hard, because there's a lot of graffiti, it's the same thing with patrol officers, we get like. I come to work and probably have 50 different emails about new graffiti that's popped up.
Yeah.
And having to sift through that and say, yes, these are gang related, no, this is not gang related.
yeah,
And so the stuff that comes through Nick, the gang stuff, we definitely get.
okay.
So is that like all graffiti through the mobile app?
You can submit it to get it cleaned up through the mobile app. I'm just saying I have my own
Yeah, I
Google
just
photo
wonder if
album.
they take all of the
specific.
cleanup requests and just submit all those as potential gang.
Yeah, so we've tried to work with the city parks, and again, it's just educating people on, and then the hard thing with the gang stuff, it's always evolving, there's new pop-up gangs coming up. So we have a program called Cartograph, that all the city mobile, the SLC mobile app, all the, graffiti complaints go through, that's on our side, Cartograph is. We just recently got access to that, and we've gone in to set up parameters on what's going to actually be gang related.
What was
Okay.
it called again?
Cartograph,
Hardgraph?
Cartograph.
Cartograph. Okay.
Does the Heart team that takes those requests through the SLC mobile app, are they apprised of that? You know?
The heart team,
Yeah,
the homeless.
Resource, like the outreach team.
Yeah, I don't know if they're going to deal with as much of the graffiti. I think essentially what happens is those complaints come through SLC mobile. And we have the graffiti removal through our parks department that just comes in. clean
Okay.
It's
graffiti.
been really quick.
Just
but I
thinking
feel
if
like really
they-
fast.
They're very bad, especially with the gang stuff. When
Yeah.
we talk to the administrators down there, that can evolve rapidly. It's crazy to see the evolution between simple tagging and then gang violence.
Mhm.
That's a very fast evolution. And so they're really good about getting that taken care of, covered up, removed.
Right.
And the ones that are egregious, like we've had parks that are just in a matter of a couple of hours, just destroyed with graffiti. So stuff like that gets special attention from us.
Yeah, and sometimes you could like learn the ones that are graffiti artists and who's like the gang ones. It becomes
Very
like,
obvious.
it's defined, you
It
know?
looks like a 3-year-old with a crayon.
Yeah.
But it's an actual artistic
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm more than happy to communicate with you, Brandy, on the next month and come and just give you a brief, kind of a snapshot of the gangs in Salt Lake and then a specific graffiti.
That would be great. Thank you
I
so much.
almost wonder if on the app, if they could modify it to where. Or maybe that's better
The
not to have,
SLC mobile app,
yeah,
it's, I've tried, it's a whole third-party venue money on the city side. So the best solution we have right now is they've given us access to the funneling program, which is Cartograph, and we've gone in and that's kind of how we're
Okay.
monitoring it now, in addition to like Smart Force, which our police officers use to document stuff and then reporting. But as far as the community, yeah, and I can, next month I come, I'll have some information as far as how you can reach us. We have a gang hotline, we have a gang email, more than welcome to blow that up as much as you want.
thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
So, does anybody think we should be doing another garbage collection?
I would love to.
Yeah, we should do it definitely regularly.
I think it was not only like effective, especially from like a community perspective, like people on the block were definitely engaging.
And they noticed, like,
Yes.
it makes much more of a presence than any of us individually.
But I think it also builds a culture of giving a fuck about our neighborhood and not asking for permission to make a difference.
Yes.
Like in a way, not only that, but I had fun, like,
Yeah.
we got to have a chat, me and Alan had a chat, me and Gina had a chat, like, I think it strengthens ties amongst
I think so.
our squad. And I think that
Yeah,
it's.
I would like
powerful
even-
Imagery. for the
Even
rest
if
of
we
the
wanted
community.
to schedule that as just a
I think
monthly
we should.
reoccurring thing.
Yeah,
Well,
one
I-
day of the month.
But a
who can go.
good day on the month, cause I don't wanna make everybody come on.
Well,
like
typically,
shitty rainy
like,
day.
they happen Saturday, which is the one day I can't do it. It's the thing.
What would?
And
be-
then we could also have multiples too, to where we can have different groups of people that works for their schedules. So
Okay.
why don't we just communicate and let's I don't know, do something similar like what we had with that lunch today, where we just say like, here's a bunch of available times, everybody say what theirs is, and
That's
you
not
know,
bad.
hopefully we'll see where things mash up. Okay,
Was that an effective means of communication, the voting system for everybody? Did everyone like that?
yeah, that was Calendly, and I don't know,
Was it okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
we can also just kind of ad hoc our own Calendly,
Yeah.
because I think you gotta have an account on, it. I'm not sure. We'll check.
Okay, otherwise we can
Mhm.
work through it now, but.
But that's true, except that I think we also don't have everybody here. that
Right, we don't.
Necessarily.
No, we don't.
So I want to make sure that we understand that going out and collecting up garbage does not mean that we're going to expect to be invited into a building and get a video of some terrible things. So, that would be kind of a separate thing that I think might not necessarily coincide with the garbage collecting at all, or probably wouldn't. But if that is something that people see some real value in, especially if we get good information for you guys, or if we get good media attention that helps influence our legislators and policymakers, then, you know, I think that that's a really powerful thing to do, but it's not really for the lighthearted. So I think that that's another thing that we could go about doing. And then something for more lightheartedness, we could decorate our garbage buckets.
Cute.
I mean, I know where to find paint and
Yeah.
brushes. because
I mean,
we
I'm-
don't have Space where we can do that.
I'm really grasping at straws trying to find fun things. So whatever fun things anybody can think of.
Oh, like the games that we're gonna do, like the hunts, or what are they called? The
Treasure hunt?
treasure hunt, yes, or the, yeah.
Yeah, I
For
kind of like it.
different
Yeah.
types of
I
garbage.
can't think of the words.
Yeah.
Scavenger hunt, yes.
Yeah, like a scavenger hunt, yeah.
Like if
Yeah,
you find this and you get. this
Different
many
kinds of
points.
garbage or also having bonus points for community engagement, like how many people did you learn their name while you were
Right.
out, or, you know,
Are we gonna get prizes?
I don't
We should
know,
do that.
but it sounds fun.
We gotta raise some money.
That's true.
There you go.
So group activities, like keep that going. We'll definitely get the garbage collection scheduled, but then also be inspired and like rope us all in, because I think we could all use more fun.
And the weather will be getting better. too,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Oh, what was I doing here? Oh, just talking about those 4 apartments down there on 300 East. Putting down the names, because a lot of people seem to get lost on those, the Pauline, the Embassy Arms, Embassy Inn,
I get confused all the time.
and the Downing. Right next to that, the club, but club's not the problem. These are the 4 that are the problem. All owned, and it's not Utah Investments LLC. I was looking it up earlier, doing a lot of that, Rokovich kind of work.
We like that.
It was,
Absolutely. My kids are smaller than hers.
yeah, I work as best I can. Yeah, so I'm doing a lot of sleuthing, like looking for, you know, who the people are that are behind these LLCs and these companies, so that we can hopefully find a way to influence them to do the right thing. Unfortunately, you know, they go through all of these different financing organizations.
Can I give an update on this? Or-
Information.
Austin's coming on.
Austin, thank you for joining.
Hey,
Yeah, hey, I'm just, I was listening. I can give an update on this if you guys want.
Yeah, of course we
Let's
do.
hear it.
Okay, so, you guys have probably seen emails that have been getting sent back and forth, so we figured out, I looked on the county records on the title, and all 4 of these buildings are in the low-income housing tax credit program for the next about 70 years. And so, at least for the next 70 years, there's a federal government entity or state entity that's supposed to be inspecting the place and holding them to certain health and safety standards. And so we have notified Utah Housing Corporation, which is that entity, and they are meeting with the owner and are going to start enforcing some standards. And I've also, if you guys know the media group Building Salt Lake,
Yeah.
Yeah.
the editor's writing a story on these apartments, and I've been giving him, we got contact info for the owners. We got like response from Utah Housing Corporation that's supposed to be inspecting the place. We got emails from the health department, from city zoning enforcement, so he's gonna include all that kind of stuff in the story. And then we also have KSL News that's interested in the story. And so the owners are gonna start feeling a lot of pressure soon to either clean up or sell. So I expect a lot more attention to be directed toward these apartments.
Did Annie get back to you specifically? Did she email you back?
Yeah, she did. She emailed me back today and said, hey, are these apartments also financed through the low income housing tax credit like River Rock? And I said, yes. And so, yeah, she's interested in doing a story. So we'll have Building Salt Lake first, but then after that, we can get like more mainstream, KUTV, KSL, Fox 13 kind of stuff after.
Yeah, I saw Richard with the Utah Stories also joined the Facebook group today too, so, yeah,
Marcosian?
so.
Nice.
A more independent little, investigative journalist.
I emailed him the other day, just a little thing, so. That's
Yeah, so Claudia from the Utah Housing Corporation, which is that, financing and enforcement group, confirmed in an email yesterday that all 4 properties are not in compliance with their standards. And so they're enforcing on them. So that's good.
That's good. Is the ownership local here in Utah?
Yeah, they are local. The main guy's out of Highland, and then there's someone else in like Draper. But this is their first low income housing purchase, and I think they have no idea what they're doing. So and that's essentially what the housing corporation said. Claudia said this is their first and only LIHTC apartment. They don't know how to manage it.
So somebody that lives in those buildings, what is to prevent them from selling, knocking the place down, and then it goes up $2,000, and then
Because of the contract
somebody
with the
that
city.
is financially struggling to meet his rent,
Right.
that's the reason I'm in there. I'm just saying, I know there's a fine line, it's a gray area, and it's a give and take. But
And Darren,
I gotta have a place to live.
Yeah,
they're,
that's
they're,
a valid
Yeah.
they're under
So
a contract with the city that they have to remain low income.
Okay, okay.
exactly. Yep, that's right. So back in 1996, they committed to rent to low income people for 99 years. So essentially, as long as the building stands, it'll be affordable.
Okay, thank you, thank you so much.
I'm coming through with more.
I mean, it's that fine line, you can bitch all you want, they'll kick you out because you're a bitcher, but.
And that's one thing we always want to make sure that we're taking into consideration.
Exactly,
I know that
exactly.
there was talk when I was talking
Yeah.
about the Chateau Normandy that like, we should take some action because it's a vacant building, this is more housing that's available. And there was kind of a little bird that was like, by the way, if you make that a biohazard there and make that well-known, then they're just gonna tear it down, which is not what we want to have, right?
No,
Like, we have to be careful.
Well,
We want these
you know.
properties to be preserved, and we definitely don't want people who are in need to be kicked out of their houses.
I had a
Good.
question on that too, and Austin and Brandy, I think this question is for the 2 of you, which is this. As the heat gets turned up over at these apartments and the management is forced to either shit or get off the pot, essentially. What sort of repercussions were there in the community when River Rock was being reformed? Like, did you notice an uptick in crime outside the building? Like, were they taking their shit activity outside and like, did it get hotter out there? Or like, what should we expect as this process goes along? Like, you anticipate it's gonna get worse out on our block for a little bit as it gets cleaned up?
I don't know if it got worse. I mean, it was always pretty bad and then it started to get better, but it didn't like
Interesting.
really shift or anything.
If I was to guess, I think the reason why we continue to have the remnant effect out here is because it's continuing in the.
Yeah, that's a valid point.
It's that root of the tree that's causing all the branches out here to be seen. And I really feel like once you get rid of that root, a lot of the residual stuff that's around is going to go away. Like basically, I think a big portion of this comes back to that's where the supply of drugs is.
Right.
And as long as there is readily available inexpensive drugs, there's going to be people that are gonna access that. And as soon as that can be resolved, or even just curtailed a little bit, we should see the effects of that everywhere.
Yeah.
Does that sound reasonable to you?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'll tell a specific story regarding River Rock. There was a specific drug dealer that was pretty big called Money Mike. You heard of him, right? That we put a focus on with the management, the security, and then just us reporting stuff constantly. And he eventually, through proper channels, got evicted. And that took a lot of traffic away, just one dealer, because people were loitering, coming in the buildings, in and out, doing all sorts of stuff, making messes, just getting to him, trying to get to him to buy, and just associated with him. So. it
I've
made a
always
difference,
theorized that
so.
it's just a few bad apples that ruin that barrel, that there are a lot of people that want to, like Darren, just live a healthy, productive
Right.
life without chaos
Yeah.
ensuing all around you.
Well, and it also goes back to the root of the problem is, as try as we might, it's up to the person to change their life.
Absolutely.
So there is a problem in our area. Yeah, we can blame it on closing Rio Grande down. And, you know, they're gonna go somewhere.
Right.
Absolutely.
We can try and over rely on the police. We can. But it's still up to the person.
Yeah,
And all we can be is caring.
Absolutely.
the hold them accountable,
And-
people accountable, for what
and
they do.
So you know what? There is a better life
Right.
than what you're living right now.
Absolutely.
And even though they may not see that. Who am I to say that they're wrong or they're, you know, I don't know where they're at.
Mhm.
All I know is where I'm at. All I can be is a caring community member
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
and go, you know what? It's a better life. And
You can
yeah, I
lead-
live over there. I know conditions are, you know,
Yeah, and you could lead them to
but
all those.
I can
sources and they may not
afford to
take them.
rent.
Right, but you also don't need to sit in that situation.
Exactly.
like,
I
because you're
care
going from-
about the area that I live in.
Right, yeah,
I
private,
love living downtown.
Right.
I love the fact that I'm paying $1,100 a month for my apartment. And yeah, you dumbass a block away or the other block away, you're paying double that, triple that.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is that so frustrating that there is no, I don't want to say anything bad about Diane because I don't know what the workload is of her.
Mhm.
I know you've had your frustrations. and
I've never been able to
couldn't
get a hold of
a
her.
hold of her. All I'm saying is I've had my frustrations too. And I brought that up in the meeting earlier, you know?
Yeah.
We got
And I voice
She managed
expect,
crap going on.
All 3 or 4 bills.
And I say, what can I do about it as a tenant that just don't want that? Call the cops, call the cops.
And a lot of people aren't like you because they're afraid of retaliation from property
I
managers.
know, but they own the freaking property.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
need to communicate with their residents and their tenants and hear them out because
I am a
They definitely owe you safety.
good
Yes.
bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum.
paying member of, and I have been since 2014.
Yeah,
I pay my rent. Yeah,
and they should communicate with you and.
exactly. But I've got it through 5, 6 different ownerships
Yeah,
of that property.
and you. can
I've
never-
always gotten, call the cops, call the cops. We're not going to put any effort into,
Providing safety. and-
it's that yin and yang, you know? Yeah, everybody wants, how are we gonna cure homelessness? House them. Okay, so you have low income housing. Everybody puts in there. Well, guess what? They bring their friends in off the street.
Mm-hmm.
I am not one who wants to regulate who comes in my front door. of my building. Now, I can regulate who comes in the
You
front
do.
door of my property,
Yeah.
of my apartment, but who come, I don't,
And
if I
frank-
have,
and frankly, it's
been
not just the
over-
low income problem.
if I have
We have the
been
same problem in
over,
ours.
or yourself, you know, I don't want somebody questioning you, you know, I don't wanna question somebody because they're a renter there. But
You should.
the shit that goes on,
If the police get called on, you may be able to answer this, on a single apartment multiple times, do you communicate with management of, or ownership of that apartment building? Or is there truly no
Great question.
repercussion or tracking of criminal activity that gets reported?
and I know that that does go on. I know that does go on. And I am not trying to say a bad shade, because I know our property manager. I think she does the best she can,
Huge properties
you
that are
know,
all-
but at the same time, she is limited by ownership. Wherein what we've seen, ownership doesn't give. a
Well,
All they care
it
about,
sounds like ownership just
is
doesn't even know better.
they only care about occupancy.
Money.
But again, I don't know if they do that because of how many vacancies that they have. So this is where I would like to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I'd like to. give-
Exactly,
like
and
give
I
Diane-
try that too,
I know Diane
but
would
you
like to
know,
do a good job.
you can go from our property to, Cowboy property, right, you know.
Right.
Oh,
But the owners
they
now,
claim 80% occupancy. Oh, well, that's on their tax forms, but
but that's. the
in
thing,
reality, they're
the owners
only
was- this is-
60.
This is their first time attempting to manage or to own.
I get it, I get it.
And I don't think.
And I'm not trying to justify,
And-
and I'm not trying to justify for, I mean, I have gone to her multiple times.
Right.
Told you this.
Yes.
I'm like, call the cops, call the cops, call the cops.
There's gotta be something we could do.
What
before
was
having
that,
to call
Kurt?
the
That
police, you know?
was a good question.
Yes, sorry.
Is there data that's gathered about specific buildings?
Outside of just general police records, I don't know of any, like data or a threshold where once a single unit in an apartment complex has X amount of calls, that the city or the police department or any other government agent entity in Salt Lake City puts pressure on that management to solve the problem.
Does
I don't
that seem
know
like a
if that's-
policy that
that's
could be made without like legislative effort?
So, that's a question that you're gonna have to ask, like,
So-
mayor's office level. I know, I worked in Ogden before, we had what we refer to as places, the weed and seed program. And so they had, I think it was called the, good landlord or honest landlord or something
Mhm.
along those lines, that they implemented there. But we do have that here.
Yeah, it's just that it's not adhered to.
Yeah, and I don't,
And the
so.
police are not active in that.
Yeah, so
process.
there what it was, and I don't know what kind of fines were implemented, but that put pressure on, because just like you're saying, all they care about is occupancy and money. When we start
Exactly.
Analyzing them.
But
monetarily,
I also want to,
Finish there.
I also want to say that I have seen. I don't know the technical ramifications of, you know, but I have seen where people have moved in and within a very short period of time. And it was obvious, because it was a revolving door in their, the front door of the building and the front door of their apartment. Yeah, they were gone. Oh, no question there, you know, so I know Diane does. It's just so hard. To communicate and to voice concerns,
Yeah, and
and then when. I do get the chance to voice a concern. It's the same thing, call the cops.
My
Yeah.
understanding is that the most expensive thing a landlord manages is turnover. So there's incentive to minimize turnover, even if it's resulting in other problems or expenses.
I get that. Turnover. Everything, we hear these horror stories about landlords. having all this power, evicting people, you know, and yada, yada. The legal ramifications of evicting somebody
It's a
and
long
bringing in a
process.
lawyer.
It
It's
is.
a very complicated, long process, so they.
It
they
is
want to
very
do it.
complicated.
And
And it is very expensive for the owners. Which is sometimes they delay. But when they do have to, you know,
And a lot of times, it's not the tenants that are causing the problems, it's the people that are couch surfing,
Yes.
hanging out there, that are friends, that are
Exactly.
crafting. And you can't track them very well and hold them accountable as you
No.
do as a tenant.
We still
you know?
don't know what the whole thing with the boarded up units were that were in
There's
there.
a lot
Like,
of
we
them.
go in there, they're at
Um,
full 4x8 sheets screwed to the front doors. Like that, they can't be collecting rent on that, I wouldn't think.
no, they can't.
To hear your comment. I know you had your hand up.
I'm sorry,
No, you don't need to say.
well, you're kind of discussing something right now. I was gonna circle back to how do you apply pressure in a kind of a positive, collaborative way, because my understanding of the low-income housing contracts is tied to the building, not the lot. So there's really nothing, if there is, maybe if the owners of the property are like, we've gotten too deep here, they could sell it and have
Pass
it
it up.
demolished, and then it's no longer a low-income housing contract and could be built, just like.
Right, like we were saying though, that there is a contract, so they can't do that.
But, you know, the
The-
contract's to the building, not the property, right? So if there's a sale, it could demolish the building.
No, I've seen it's contingent on sales, that they still honor the contract with the city, that's one of the contingencies of the sales to go through.
Yeah, so they can't demolish. the building.
Right, and that's kind of unique to these because they had like a low income, like they got a bunch of money to remodel them 25 years ago. And so as a result of that, it was originally only the Pauline, but then because now they've incorporated all 4 buildings into the same business, they've kind of taken that contract and distributed to all of them, so now they're all under that same contract.
Okay.
So, and there's probably lawyers that could argue different ways around all of that as well, but from what I understand, it was just the Pauline that had that, and it was like 25 years ago, and that when it was for sale, you had to agree to continue that contract in order to buy it.
Okay, sorry. I didn't know that.
No need.
But it's a
to
good
start.
question, because it is an ongoing concern, for sure.
Does Salt
Oh,
Lake City have a
on,
minimum
there's my guy.
percentage of low-income housing that it has to make?
Sorry.
You're good.
From what I've seen in the news, and the officer might know better than me. I think it's up to every administration as to what they quantify and what the the voters. I don't think everybody wants to cure.
What was the
all
They,
this.
they tried to do it all by.
Everybody wants to help out the low income.
My
I mean,
understanding is
I
that
mean, we're going back 50, 100. I mean, it's just, you know,
my understanding.
I'm in
that
my
is that
situation now
we have
because
lost a lot of low-income housing to higher new apartment buildings,
Sure.
which is perpetuating the problem in addition
Exactly.
to closing the
the
real
problem's not the low income housing. We need it.
We need more.
We
The,
need
the
it.
problem is,
We
like nobody
may
said.
need more.
Is managing the
But
existing.
At the same
low-income
time,
housing. And
I
the
am
additional.
not better than anybody else. I totally take advantage of the low income that I have over there.
Anything.
I'm
probably
paying
more
$1,100 for a 1-bedroom apartment. That
And-
I go one block over. I'm on 30s. I go one block either way. I go one block up, I go one block down. I'm over $2,000. I can't afford that. But I can afford the $1,100 that I have at my place.
I want to
And I
make,
have since 2014.
Yeah, more.
Trying to
Hey,
do
Darren,
is help.
Sorry.
hey
Yeah,
Darren, I
more.
want to like offer like another view of what adds to the problem of low income housing from a totally different perspective. Okay, what I see, I mean, I'm from the East Coast. I've been here since 2017. Okay, so I'm not a Utah lifer.
I would love another view.
Well, when I come here, I'm shocked at the predominance of all these buildings being built
Mm-hmm.
are by owner or partnerships of owners building apartments for rent. They don't help solve not only low income, mid income. We need housing that young people with good jobs can buy their
Right.
first home, this and that. And when people buy condos, then the apartments don't cost as much. So the fact that whether it's the city or the state, putting so much partnership with these developers are hurting the cost of housing, because if people, people say, oh, no one wants a condo. That's not true. If
And-
people want to live in the city and own something, that could be the only thing, if they can buy anything they can
And I
buy,
totally agree with you.
and then apartment rent goes
Exactly.
down.
And that's why I live where I live and have.
Okay, so the reason
I'm just bitching about.
I know,
that.
Darren, but you know what? You're like me. You talk too much.
Exactly.
You're like me.
Exactly.
I'm saying this,
But
okay?
I
But no, but you
can't,
gotta let other people
I
talk.
can't change City Hall,
Right,
but what I can do is team up with wonderful people like Brandy and Ben. And this little organization, and just trying to make our little spot a better place. to
Okay.
live.
so I'm
So we're
reason
all
bringing
gonna do
this up though, Darren, because you're like me. And I have to check myself, so pay attention to what I'm saying. I could talk too much. There's all these smart people in the room and they're bringing different perspectives. So you and we have to be quiet more and listen more, okay?
Thank you.
So let them talk.
So,
Okay.
real quick, so I actually live in Mill Creek. And I'm one of the people that was up on Capitol Hill the last session. Utah is landlord friendly. Utah is not tenant friendly. And the thing is, we need to vote for our legislators and get the ones that are voting for the landlords out of there. We need to vote for tenant friendly.
I know, and there was actually a bill and it got shut down. So we're still
Yes,
landlord friendly
exactly. And
because the
so,
legislators, yeah, exactly.
yeah, so,
But
and that's,
enough pressure, maybe eventually.
exactly.
Well, and at the same time, we have landlords who are not fulfilling their responsibility to be good
Yeah,
landlords to all of their tenants.
Exactly, and
So-
so
It'd be
but-
nice if they would exploit some of their
we do,
extra power.
Yeah.
we are running low on time. Cause it is,
Okay, so, I forget your name?
I'm Grant.
Grant.
Yeah.
Grant was here, because I met with Joel.
Yeah.
And, he's over there by the Chateau Normandy, which is another one of these, vacant buildings that has nothing to do with low-income housing at all. It's just a vacant building that is
There's too many vacant buildings.
for speculative real estate, we think,
For too long.
along with two gorgeous houses, a mansion.
Stunning.
On First South.
Yeah.
Yeah.
First and fourth.
Yeah, so it's all three properties and they're
The
trying to.
Normandy,
Yeah, so the Chateau Normandy.
take it until
Yeah.
you talked about it a couple weeks
And they get
ago.
to lock
Anyway.
it, you know?
Wow.
Yeah,
God.
so it's vacant and then the two homes beside it
Both
are
of them,
vacant.
It's gorgeous.
It is. And then so I work for the Southern Utah Wilderness Alliance. I also live in the neighborhood. I should say that.
That's great.
too. I've
So
walked
do
over
you
here.
get to live in the house? for
I
a-
don't,
Oh, okay.
unfortunately. But our
Yeah, no,
offices
that's right.
are in that. I guess it would be the fourth house in there, which
Yeah,
we.
that's right.
Which is also
Rehab.
another beautiful.
It's-
It is
Yeah.
beautiful. It's a landmark of the city. We love it. It's my understanding that the second house in, which would be the,
The mansion.
the mansion.
Uh-huh.
Right.
That one is landmark.
Dinwiddie, yeah, well, it's on the National Register,
So is it city landmark?
No.
though? 'Cause
No.
National
However-
Register doesn't stop. to
Yeah,
right,
that's right.
exactly.
That's right.
So what there's some effort a while ago to get it added to the city registry, because if it were added to the city registry, then that would mean that it could not be demolished.
Okay.
However, during the time when all of those decisions were made about going onto the National Registry, it used to be assumed that if you were on the National Registry, you were also allowed to be on the city registry. So it's almost as if like they just didn't file the paperwork. So there may be some more effort that we can exert in order to actually get that onto the city registry. So if I find anything out about that, I'll make sure to communicate it and like.
Yeah, we didn't know that if you're on the city, you can't be demolished.
Correct.
We
Cause
know.
they're only on
It's a-
national.
Yeah, well, so like city landmark has more teeth basically than the national register.
Right.
The national
Because they own property.
We
honor,
need to have some from the historical, da department, whoever comes
Right.
out to.
Yeah, Cindy gave us some really good information
Yeah,
about that.
oh, she's great at all that. She
Um,
goes to all the meetings.
and I,
Yeah, also, one of the things that they had, the contingent on the sale of the home,
mhm.
is that they would remove all of the historic glass and woodwork from the building, that was like they're going to rape the building of all of its historical value. Even if it doesn't get torn down, that was a stipulation of sale, which is just, it's just obscene.
Yeah, that's what we're. We have a connection with the landmarks committee.
Okay,
So if we can help with that.
yeah, I imagine the landmarks committee's the same thing or very closely related to the city's historical register.
Yeah, same. yeah.
Okay, so that's, also, I totally just think that the Chateau Normandy should be in there. I don't know exactly what classifies it as historical, but it looks like one of the more historic buildings. It's got more character than anything within a mile
I
around
forget
here,
all the
so.
criteria, but someone could tell us probably what.
It's-
Right.
I mean, the short version is it's eligible, like
Mhm.
that's the most important thing I would say, like there's money to rehab these, like if you combine the
Absolutely.
state and the federal historic tax credit, you use the low income housing tax credit, the city has put in good adaptive reuse measures recently, like. It's
Right.
definitely possible.
That's
to-
where I would say, like, if anybody knows a developer, like it, even at the way overpriced $220 million that they want for the 3 places, like by square foot, it's overpriced.
That's like $545.
Yeah, you could probably negotiate that, but even if you were to way overpay for it, you could sell out the 2 individual houses for probably the 20 million once they're rehabbed. And then you would have a full apartment complex for free. It's just, it's a wasted opportunity just because people are money grubbing and looking for short-term gains, and it's just sad.
And I think the reason my colleague Joy, who was the one that was supposed to be here originally, had reached out was. We have had some frustrations with the property that is right beside ours, which is the Weir House, is my understanding.
Yeah.
We've called the police a lot to like express concern about what's happening there, that there's
Exactly.
pretty clear
Well,
crime occurring,
that-
and I think we're interested in
Yeah.
if there's anything else we can do, or if there's ways we can help this group in some way.
Yeah, that's like basically a trap house. Like I talked with somebody while I was just looking around she was just like, oh, hey, what are you doing? And, you know, I was talking
We
with her,
have
shared
people
the,
walking around, pick you up,
shared
like.
the, and she's like, oh, I'm going up there.
Yeah, there's like
She was just heading on in, you know, and
clearly crime
and very-
occurring there.
yeah,
And our staff feel uncomfortable, so like,
What's the address of this one?
I think it's 419, our property's 425, I think it's,
south?
yeah.
Okay.
I will give you my
And
card.
the same thing was
Chat.
But
going on when,
it's like the carriage house behind the house and
That
then, and
is
it's,
where more concerning things are.
Right.
occurring.
Is that
Right,
what
so
those
it's not
get
even in the
people
house.
plugging in?
and they've got it completely boarded up, often red lights on, which I don't know if that means anything.
And they're taking water, is it still taking water resources?
Yeah, so they have no
taken
plumbing.
water from-
Oh.
Yeah. And then they're using the outhouses across the street, or before they were doing construction there, they were just using buckets.
Yeah.
That was one of the things when there was a little bit of liberal outrage towards me that we were, you know, taking a poverty field trip with a little video.
Oh, yeah, there's some comments I've read. a
And,
couple.
like, no, bro, like, we're on the same side, like, he mentioned that he had lived at the Chateau Normandy and he had taken them buckets before to be like, you know, a humanitarian, so.
We're not trying to tear people down by going there and
Exactly.
pointing out things. We're trying to highlight it so we can correct it and like, you know, improve it, you know?
But these are the people that were installed, or at least one of them was installed as the management for the property to keep it secure. But there's like, what, like a dozen people sometimes there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's only one door in or out. They may have been visited by some other people from other organizations recently.
You guys do
So-
video or like little
We,
pictures? of it?
yes, I think the short version is we have video. outside.
I think the big problem is that you don't have a real,
We don't have like a direct view
Right.
in.
Okay.
Because the
That's
complicated
okay.
thing, there's like a partial brick wall
Mhm.
up there.
Mhm.
Like a fire hydrant.
I mean, who could we ask, who's over the area, I mean, as far as patrol goes? I mean, does Sanders,
So
tell his guys?
Ryan Sanders is one of our HRC, which is the.
He's coming next time.
Resource Center.
Mhm.
So I think, I'm not sure, because that's a newly formed squad, so I'm not sure how they're designed, but I'm pretty sure it's just the resource centers.
Yeah, but he said, oh. well,
So I don't know, as far as outside of that area, what they do.
He occasionally sends a couple of guys down here, I think, just
Yeah.
briefly, but if he's short-legged,
But I
got
can send it, I can contact, Captain Diamond, he's the one for, this police division.
Yeah,
I think it's either Ryan Sanders or Nate Meinzer,
Meinzer.
they're the two HRC squads.
yeah, because he's Gail Miller Mines.
Yeah, yeah.
And then just like have a what's the word, discern or discern?
Disseminate.
Yeah, to all the patrol officers to go by and pay special focus on these buildings and, not, you have to get out of your car sometimes and shine the lights on it or walk through, not just drive by it. Sometimes like Tafford Park, you can't just drive by, you have to go in the
I
park.
don't
and
want
walk
to be
around.
cliche, but are we calling police to generate calls for service on this property particularly?
When you say calls for service.
Just
So
Calls
it's
call
like
PD.
trespassing, drug use.
Noise.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's, the department's big drive right now is, like, stat-based policing essentially. So they compile stats every month, and that's kind of where they designate hotspot police, and I'm sure you've seen cars with their lights on just sitting there. So those are, identified by call for service. So when we see an increase for call for service, we apply police there and hopefully suppress that down. So that's one way that it'll automatically trigger that property.
Okay.
And Marie
I
showed
know-
us that
I know it's-
hotspot
I know you hate to
map.
hear it, call the police, call the police, call the police, but there is some value in that, even if you don't
Paper
get
trail.
the immediate response, you're expecting immediate solution. When those stats right in that area, efforts are focused there.
I have seen right around
Yeah,
the corner.
And I think that's the
The
biggest
response is
issue there
there.
is
A
we
lot
want it to be
quicker.
safe first.
Yeah. I think
Right.
that's all.
So that's, the police calls us for immediate safety, but I think then we really need to realize that the
And
permanent
gotta put-
fix is not the police, the
Oh,
permanent
totally.
fix.
I think we like.
Yeah.
Dealing with the
that.
unknown.
Yeah.
By the way, you guys,
Right.
after much time and pressure and nagging and begging, Chief Brown got the dashboard changed back to refreshing every 15 minutes in real time. It was like
Yeah, it's
2
on the
days
agenda.
for a while when they updated everything.
Yeah.
Went out of house and we were bringing it up and I was kind of like nagging about it and they finally did it. I don't know,
What's
was it
your
a
name?
week ago or something?
Yeah, I got a QR code for it on the back.
Justin has a question for Officer Sykes.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you're seeing
For the
people with,
Calls for service and update.
water and things like that, I mean, could you also do a wellness check? Could you call the police and ask? For a
Yeah.
wellness check, which would
Yeah,
allow-
and that's I think patrol guys are gonna hate that I say this, but that's the great thing about calling police. Is when they generate a police call, generally it requires a police response. So it could be, so when we get calls for, there was a guy laying on the sidewalk. Well, any other details? Nope, he was just laying there. That's going to generate a patrol response. Now, obviously, like I said, these are gonna be pretty low priority if like, hey, there's suspicious activity, these guys are carrying water buckets into this abandoned property. That's pretty low priority on the police scale. So you may not get that immediate response, like 3 minutes later, a cop shows up or 8 minutes later. It may be.
It may be
several
3 or
hours
4
later.
hours.
Yeah, because
It
other
may be a
things might
CRT,
come up.
but it's still going to generate that call for service, which is gonna increase the statistic for that area.
Yeah.
But in addition to that, I'll send an email to the division command and let them know that has been identified as a problem area and they need to put some resources there. What those resources will be, I don't have control over, but I'll definitely pass it on.
Whether that be like a camera trailer or whatever.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things they can do.
Yeah,
put
they can
those
do-
over
they can do a
camp,
lot of
rather than
different things.
device.
And I've gone by and patrolled, there's been a couple times when like ground level windows have been open. I noticed that the windows do all open and close differently, so there are, I don't know if that's the maintenance guy doing it or if that's people that are living in there, but it doesn't look like it's been like squatting in. I mean, it gets squatted around quite a bit. There's a lot of garbage. And then when the windows were open, I made a report on the app. There's an option in the SLC mobile app for unboarded buildings, so if you ever just see that, and so then however it got back to them, it did get back to them, and then they did board it up within a couple of days, so at least there is some remediation in the meantime, and it's not the best, like I say, in the long run, what we really want to do is make sure that we can get these properties to be alive and vibrant.
Well, that's what I was kind of curious about, is that like absentee landlord piece?
Oh, they hold on to the properties for a long time to hoard them, right? And keep
Yeah,
them
because they,
vacant.
as you were talking about earlier, tried to sell them, failed on that, now they're just,
And now they're notoriously known as difficult to buy from,
yeah.
so
Mhm.
nobody with $20 million wants to even touch it.
But then you see a lot of land banking on State Street too, you know, where the bookstore used to be, right?
sure.
Just the major properties.
Especially when it's land that they get from an inheritance,
Right.
because now it's not like they had to like work for it, and then they're just like, oh, well, I'm just sitting on a lottery ticket, so let's just see how long it takes.
Does anyone know these folks specifically, the Sequoia Springs?
No, but that's where I was kind of trying to find some extra investigation into it, so that's just like looking through the,
We'll do some.
Yeah.
investigating.
I can find things usually pretty well. so
And
deal with it.
Ben, you're at the Hollywood, right?
yes.
You have A3, B8, two for A3 and one for B8 and one D7.
Oh, those are all the different apartments.
Yeah,
correct?
those are the units.
Yeah,
Yeah, these are all different.
I'm just trying to keep us on track.
Okay, these are all different
Thank
units.
you.
Yes.
And,
Someone
let's
has
just say
to.
that the burglar that I followed, that we did end up getting ID'd,
Oh, the one that all four of us at first.
yeah, that we all followed,
That
there
was,
was,
that was interesting.
followed in the rain, and then they let him go, but they at least got a positive ID. They did file charges with the district attorney. Whether the district attorney actually prosecutes the case, I guess we're still waiting to find out.
He
But,
won't.
but it's interesting to see that a little bit of the
We'll have
citizen
to get
justice
to another
actually
meeting with them.
got us a burglar. Also, just on the victim rights side, which is one of these, that last case there for Brandy, you know, she had her victim rights, egregiously dismissed. Trying to get our victim, in one of our other units that was affected by that burglar to just
Okay.
file a report today so that she can get the, right to have a victim statement, whether they dismiss the charge or not. It would be really nice if she could, you know,
Yeah.
formally
I-
let
I
the
want justice.
burglar know
And
that
that-
she's been
and
scared
that's
out
a
of her
good thing
wits for the last
for
6 months as a
Guys
result,
to know
right?
to send it to other people.
What's that?
The victim statements and stuff that you were just talking about,
What about it?
to make sure that they do the victim statements.
Well, there's
Oh,
no
yeah,
difference
well, that
in
was the
the
thing though, was
statements.
that she's in a different unit,
Yeah,
so like her stuff didn't get stolen. There was just a break-in attempt, and then now she's, so it's like, we just need like a criminal trespass charge. Whether it is a separate charge or gets added to the charge. We've also gone to the Criminal Justice Academy,
Well, just a week or two ago.
Citizen Justice Academy, so
Citizens
so we're
Academy.
all trying to learn this.
Yeah.
yeah,
And there's
Don't
gonna
be
be opportunities
citizens,
for
but-
more things.
As we go along.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean, victim rights has oddly become really important to me lately. I
Mhm.
think when I, was assaulted at gunpoint, I didn't really feel like I got any recognition as a victim. I feel like had I not been super diligent, that the district attorney would have gladly fumbled that whole
And you
thing.
feel like you have to do all your own, like, you
Yeah.
know, detective work and everything and collect all the stuff and you're trying to process and like deal with the trauma and everything, and then you're trying to do all this work too, and it's kind of hard to.
Yeah, the whole thing of now victims are responsible for collecting all of their own evidence is a little bit problematic, I think. That's one thing I'd like to get.
Is that for misdemeanor?
Just anything, just whenever you're like, oh, somebody, you know, beat me up, and it's like that, obviously, it's like, well, what evidence do you have?
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, I've got evidence, and they're like, okay, well, go get it.
Well, and is that a function of underfunding and understaffing?
Yeah,
our
yeah, it's a
criminal
systemic
justice
issue,
system?
again, yeah.
So I mean, like, again, it's a systemic issue, as
Right.
you said, and like, while it's highly frustrating that these cases are being fumbled and having like real impact on people in our community, it's also this larger issue of like, are we setting our criminal justice system up to?
Right,
And
which
how
is-
do we fix that in a larger sense?
Which is, we had a lunch with the heart team today, and that was, what I was trying to tell them, you know, as the coordinator between like the police and the rest of our community, if they could please, and again, you take the message back that like, you are heroes, and like, we really want to support you, and in any way that we can like, make your lives easier or make your lives safer, like, that's what we're trying to do as a matter of necessity, and also because it makes us all feel better to work together as a community, so. If that message could get through in any way, it would be
Yeah,
great.
we promote that message, and I've never been to a community council meeting or city council or any of these type of settings where we've been berated or called into question about anything that we do, which we appreciate it. And really, like I said at the beginning, our job is fairly easy. I mean, there's an inherent danger in policing, and when you become a police officer, you assume that danger. But it's hard to hear some of these complaints that the community has. I don't have a fix for it. I know we can talk about understaffing police and more resources and the new DA that will actually do something. If you ever did sit down.
And that goes
No, we have, we sat with them last week, because we're going like this.
And again, like, we've got the utmost respect for Cinnamon as a DA too. I know it's really easy to cast stones, but it's not an easy.
I've had
job.
2 meetings with them. They're very easy to get a meeting with and talk to. It's a half hour, but you can get a lot done and accomplished and you feel heard. And I want to schedule an appointment with Chief Brown, and I heard that it's not quite as easy to do that.
No,
I tried doing it with Rosie Rivera, and it was impossible, but I got her deputy person,
Yeah,
Well, it's
So-
quite honestly, I mean, I think if we could find solutions for problems that weren't police focused and
Right.
weren't further stressing under resource systems, I
Right.
mean, that would be ideal. We want a safe, vibrant community. And I think as a community, we don't want to further criminalize hard lives and criminal existences on the street, but I think we also want a safe place to live.
Yeah, we want to correct behavior. We don't want to just
Like,
put people
how
in
can we
jail and
take-
have
right,
them run
how can we
away.
take
Right.
people-centric approaches that don't, worsen situations of undertaxed systems and challenging lives. And I really like the idea of holding landowners, management companies accountable for these properties that are creating unsafe living environments for people in our community who need them. I mean, I think we need
Because
more
if they address,
affordable housing, we need that affordable housing to be safe so that it's not at risk of losing that housing.
yeah, and if they address it on that level, then a lot of that stuff won't trickle to the police, it'll save time and
Right.
resources, if we can handle it on a different
And they're the
level.
ones making the money off of.
Absolutely,
these
yeah. They want all the
properties.
money, but they don't want to do the work to make it a clean, safe place all the time, and people deserve that.
yeah,
It's like to making money off of like some of us that are middle income, or, it is one thing, but they're making money off of the poorest people.
I hope that the comment she makes doesn't go unvalued. That's very good content. And that's going back, and I know we're super short on time, so I'll be quick. But going back to that, call police, call police, call police, the problem with doing that, and for this situation, that's fine. But you're introducing police into a traditionally non-police problem, and you're going to get a police solution when that
Right.
isn't always a
Yeah.
solution.
And you should always ask for a
There's a
social
lot of
worker.
value
like-
in saying it.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah,
Okay,
anytime you call non-emergency risk, you can ask specifically for like, if
social
if it's a
worker.
wellness call, you can specifically state that you want a wellness call, you want a paramedic, you want. That there's no need for police to show up, and I've had them honor that. Sometimes it's difficult to get dispatched to route things properly, but if you're patient, they're working on it.
Definitely. And yeah, if you could pass on to, any officers you talk to, that, if our meetings are open. If they ever want to come just sit and hang out for a few minutes and
Okay.
listen, or online, we'd be happy. We want to meet officers. We want the citizens to get to know them on a
Mhm.
face-to-face and name level. So they can say, hi, Bob, or hi,
I just
Not-
want to get to hang out here a lot.
Hang out here.
Well, in our-
This is the time we're big.
in our-
So I didn't.
uh,
I mean, we talked.
Do you want a beer?
about, like,
No, I'm just.
Oh. Are you on your office?
East Coast, all day long, anytime, not so much.
I mean, I think also we were talking about like incentivizing, and I don't know if they do this here, but like incentivizing. Like police and public servants to live in the communities that they're representing.
Yes,
I mean,
Yeah.
we've got police presence.
I talked to
almost
Jim
all the
about that.
time. It'd be nice to have the same police presence, so they get to know the people, get to know
mhm.
the people on our block, right? Like.
I was
we
saying,
want
if
the
we
dogs
can
to
convince all you
bark.
guys that it's super cool to live downtown.
No.
and
But
make-
they-
Live downtown.
I was in River Rock before, I know River Rock, so some of the more problematic areas, they offer like free housing for police or substantially reduced housing for police that we have.
Do officers take them up on it ever?
Yes.
They do? Okay.
They wanna save money.
We're in the same boat. I mean, at the top end, after you've been a cop for 20 years, the pay's decent. We can, afford to buy a house and raise it down and things like that.
Yeah.
When you're newer, it's the struggle that everybody
Yeah.
faces, and I can either pay $3,500 a month to have a studio apartment in Salt Lake, or I can live up in Clearfield and pay $1,000 per hour.
That's what Detective Stewart lives up north, though.
Yeah, it's hard. There's just not the funding to offer that kind of incentive.
Yeah.
But that's also a huge reason why we should all work as a community to make sure that we're legislating affordable housing in our community,
Yeah.
Yes.
so that the
Yeah.
poor police.
I think it's just good for general,
Yeah.
everybody.
Any more updates on? the
No,
incidents?
the rest of those kind of just stood where they were. We still have
Can
another
can I,
unsolved.
can I
burglary.
bring up
Mhm.
our, okay, so, I'm the president of our HOA at Third South and Third East, and it's two historic buildings that were beautiful in 1905, 1906, but for like the last 40, 50 years, really
Just going downhill.
downhill. So the people that own now, we've all borrowed a lot of money to try to turn the place around, which is a multiple year process because it's really expensive. And we have to do it on our own. We had next to us, the building that used to be the Film Society, and next to that was engineering, fully active buildings, and they got bought by the same firm that bought 3 in a row, and then decided they didn't want them during the pandemic. And now the two next to us are owned by what I consider the worst developer in the city in terms of what he delivers. And so you know, my career, I'm an architect, so I know about zoning and I know about, you know, architecture and building. Well, there's a reason why there's a setback requirement on a property, and it's sensical. It allows light, ground, water absorption, growing. You as a community, if each property has a rear yard setback and open space, then, you know, each neighbor benefits from that there. So there is multiple different rear yards on these properties because he's bought 2 different properties that at different points are probably multiple properties. So he should have a 30-foot rear yard setback, which aligns with ours for the 50 feet back from us. So what is now a 1.5 story building, he's put in as a 12-story building. And he put in, and then they put like the rear yard setback by us was not really rear yard setback because they have a farther rear yard setback. So they wanted to build all the way on it. So, you know, this very small HOA, I mean, I made a model, a couple other people came, we fought it. But of course, the planning group agreed they can have a 12.5 story building, but there were certain people on planning by one vote that agreed with us that they had to respect our 30-foot setback, and that while he could build a 12-story building, he had to respect a 30-foot setback near the historic building.
Is it the middle of the
It
block?
drowns out these buildings, the light and everything, right?
Exactly, you get
What
shadow all day.
was the question?
Is it the middle of the block or is it on the corner?
No, so we're on Third South and Third East. We have 2 buildings, sister brother buildings. And then right next to that is the Film Society and then the engineering building. Okay, so it's in the middle.
The corners, huh?
So
They're gonna do 12 stories in the middle of the block and they
Yes.
got approval for that.
right, and but not only that, so we had to come back with the new application, with the new design. So instead of coming back with a new design, and you know, Cindy Cromer, if you guys know
Oh,
her.
it's always amazing.
And all this, which, so she gives me like, you know, the multiple year history of
She's
my
great.
building and everything.
History.
Okay, and I said to her, I said, the planning department almost seems like they're in cahoots with this developer because they're saying things about zoning that I know as an architect are not true. And they're like saying, oh, but you know, we have this thing that's not a rear yard setback, it's the dog leg of a side yard setback, so they can really build on. It's all Bubblmeister, whatever you call it in New York. But, okay, he just came back with his new application. It's a new application, which he's really doing his new application so he can ignore everything that was said in the last. So he already has a rights to the 12-story building, but he wants to ignore the 30-foot
Can we get that
setback.
12-story building thing taken away if he's doing a new application?
I don't know, but his new application and in building Salt Lake, which Austin, who I thought was like, you know, more, that there's this big article talking about the new design even before the application was supposedly in, and the new design had 0 setback. So he's proposing filling in the entire site, and he's gonna have a 3-story garage and put the open space on top of that. So basically, he's gonna block everything that's supposed to be respectful for the community, which is basically saying what to the neighbors. And but the people that live there will get to enjoy the outdoor space on top of the parking garage. And it's really hard for
And
such,
should be no trespassing sign.
right? So, and where do you think all their garbage from the 12 story is gonna blow? It's gonna be in our little,
Your
So
little,
what can
your
we
little
do to
yard.
support it?
Yeah.
I would like, you guys, when it well, I'm gonna go through and do the work of where I think it's against the zoning and write it up. And maybe I could share it with you guys
We can go
and
to a planning mission, for that,
Yeah.
planning meeting.
when they go to the
Yeah.
planning meeting, if we could go, so it's not just
Do
the
comments.
couple people from my HOA, but if like a vast community, how,
Like the numbers.
yeah. Cause it's setting a precedent for everyone in
Yeah.
your buildings. I mean, like, honestly, there are enough vacant office buildings. We don't need to be building tall buildings to get enough housing.
We got you. Just tell us when and where.
Okay.
Okay.
I will, if I can through Brandy send things and she could share it, so I won't dump.
Cause our council meetings are usually like, what, a week before our neighborhood. watch
Yeah,
meetings,
they're-
so,
So last council meeting was last week.
Yeah. So we
Yeah,
can-
so Rihanna knows about this, so I'm probably gonna like meet with her next week and then we'll get it on the agenda, but the first time last year he came to the agenda, they tried to say, oh yeah, talk to community members and I was gonna exchange information, and the minute the presentation was up, this developer guy and his three, ran out of the room. And I run after him, I'm like, oh, I want to exchange information. He says, we're not gonna talk to the community. We're gonna drive this through to approval like we always do.
He
You
said,
know, that burglars in his name chased around by the community.
Get him out of here.
yeah.
Yeah, so I need help.
We will chase them.
I will chase him myself.
Yeah.
With
sounds
my
like
chair.
Something that I'd be like, hell no.
I will run him over.
Fine.
Made a mistake.
Way to go.
Well, yeah, but it's ugly. It's scary alone.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, well, it doesn't have, you don't have to do it.
So,
So is the problem more the height or the setback in your opinion?
Um,
Because, I mean, I do think we're on the edge of downtown and I think we're all gonna have to accept that things are gonna start being built up.
Well,
That's why I
Yeah,
was
like, I
gonna
think
say-
they shouldn't do it in the middle of a block.
you just can't do it in the middle.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
shouldn't be-
height is
All right, well,
except for
well,
the corners of the building, that's like our building. There's all these guidelines that we've done
Yes.
tons of research and spent millions of dollars on figuring out like how it is that we want the city to be designed. And a 12-story building in the middle of a block with 2 and 3-story buildings
Yeah.
is not part of
That's
that
what
design.
it is,
Also,
tacky.
I think when we had the planning, you only have 2 minutes per person. The three of us that were there said, let's just focus on the yard setback so we don't lose the
Yeah.
light. Because we would, the people to the direct north of it are gonna lose their light. They had no choice. But we said, let's just focus on the yard so we can plant garden and this and that. And that's what we focused on. So to answer your question, that would be the number one priority. We have this reality that the mayor and other people are all supporting this upzoning, so it's kind of what battle can we win?
Yeah, we have to focus on certain ones.
I've got a little thing in here for drug education, because it seems to be whenever it comes
this-
up, there's a lot of people that don't know much about.
So was that for the small groups?
Oh, yeah, let's just say just more generally, like with the small groups, like in your area. Yours is kind of more HOA focused right now, but also you seem to be somewhat engaged with the community, what we'd like to see. And there's no rhyme or reason to how it would be, but just that we can work together as multiple small groups.
Mhm.
Like this group here
Little zone.
is by far like the most active. We get Brandy that kind of comes up from the
Instead of
southern
South Bay,
area.
so we
And
can
then
find
myself
some
over in Mill
some
Creek.
people Like you guys.
Yeah, we'd really like to
Outside.
activate like something more down Fourth South and then something more down in Brandy's area. Get some more people
So I
involved.
had meetings down
Oh,
there.
also over there on Fourth East, I don't know how much the neighbors around there want to get involved as well, so.
Okay,
But the more that we can have like more of these small groups, and then I think collectively, each of these small groups, then we could work together on common causes where it kind of
right.
goes across. these
Instead of
borders
one
with-
big group.
Right,
Yeah.
it could be a
I
lot
think
more
we could
effective.
get kind of lost in translation when it's too
Yeah.
large.
Also, we tend to ramble on a lot, so if you get
Yeah.
too many people.
Yeah,
it's-
exactly.
So I don't know if anybody really wants to spend time on the drug education, but I just put it in there because it seems like there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that don't know much.
What I
about
would do
drugs.
is just hold on to it and,
Do the
You know-
online Narcan and Naloxone
Yes.
trainings if you can.
and so
Someone in.
That would be great.
I,
I'd love that.
so I
No,
can,
I didn't.
so I,
Sorry, I'm taking accountability. I was
so
looking at that.
real quick, I actually am eligible to train you guys for Narcan.
Oh, nice.
Cause I've administered it, I actually just administered my first dose on Saturday.
Me too, only 2
Whoa.
weeks ago.
And
Was it
The
the
breath of
nasal or
life,
the
my
injection?
dude.
injection,
Oh, sorry.
um,
I have it
But-
back here if you want to train us quickly.
We're running out of time.
We should do it
Okay.
next time, we can focus a little.
Okay.
Yeah, we can, we'll put that in our agenda next time. But like it's,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
it's super simple.
Yeah, it's
You don't have to
very
hit a
user-friendly.
vein or anything.
I know,
No.
it's not, I mean, it's like
Just,
Yeah.
CPR.
Okay, but also, I mean, I'm trying to get a case of the Narcan where it's actually just like in your nostril.
but he wants a case.
Oh, a case, like a big. case.
So,
It's harder to get. lately, isn't it?
no, just contact Jen Plum.
Jen Plum, okay, I can, she sits in on the meeting sometimes, so.
And she, yeah, just ask her.
Okay.
I think if we did an official class, though, it would be a draw for people who are not generally coming to these meetings, who might still be interested in being part of. So like, if we picked a date a few months out.
Right.
And just
did that.
social
we
media
could-
to,
we could
Yeah.
do Social media.
And
we could talk to
so,
people in our building.
Yeah, whenever you, so, like I said, I'm from Mill Creek, I can come up here anytime. And do the training for you guys,
Okay,
and
great.
it's
We'd
like
love
a
to have you.
30-second training.
and I know Jen's busy, but we
Yeah,
should have her
we
come.
do like
sometime, too.
30 to 45-minute training to like
Yeah.
draw people in and make it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Great.
Um, Next, I'm assuming is Randy with
What?
dog walk routes and schedules.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
no
that
name
was-
on it.
That was something that, I think Tim had brought up that would have been really effective in some of the communities for like neighborhood watchness was to just collectively plan general times and places where people would walk their dogs.
Yeah, be
Okay.
consistent.
Just so that we
That's
have
why-
like a broader
that's why I brought
understanding.
you up.
Okay, good.
Cause you walk dogs.
So, like I said the other day, you brought granola down the east side.
No, I really just assumed
It was
it.
very.
Oh, okay.
It
Other people want dogs too.
happened.
Mhm.
You know, so when I was first in this area, before I decided to buy, I looked at a lot of rentals, and not the Hollywood, but the building right next door. Has like 6 or 7 negative reviews, like 1
Yeah.
star. It essentially says, you know, the building has no security, right? There's no way to verify, so homeless sometimes can walk in.
Mhm.
Is there any city programs or any ways to upgrade some of these buildings? Cause I think, you know, sometimes it's just something like a call box, which has a fob key.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
would help continue to retain the people who are in that building, for example.
Yeah, just a lot of interesting
Yeah.
big cameras, a couple of
Yeah,
cameras.
because I mean, like I said, Google reviews, I mean, these people are volunteering and saying like, I don't feel safe in this building, you know.
I have a
contacted
security
the
system
management.
similar to what we have for all of our cameras, and I've been trying to give it away.
Yeah, I was just wondering.
Nobody will-
yeah, 'cause I feel
Really?
like- I feel like that's
Yeah.
another easy thing for us.
Nobody
as a
wants to talk
nonprofit
to an
do,
owner.
Is
Yeah.
to sort of, you know, like, maybe that management, you know, doesn't never dealt with the building like that, right? But
Are
it's
you-
like just getting with
are you
basic
actually giving them away?
technologies.
Hmm.
It's 2024.
I mean, I
It's an
Yeah.
interesting
would
thing
prefer not to,
do.
but
So I was
like,
thinking
I
about the
want
question, because I
security
know
in my
I
neighborhood.
asked,
Yeah.
I asked the mayor's office when they were here last time, I didn't really get an answer, you know what I mean? So I didn't know
Oh, if there's a program or grant or
program or
something.
grant or something, because like you said, I mean, you know, you might have 25 residents and they look to leave because the building, the door doesn't secure.
And it might be an easy fix with not a lot of money required to do it.
Right, but if it's a for-profit management company that, you know, I mean, just.
They don't want to spend money on anything,
Extra
right?
interest in-
They want to collect money, but they don't want to put
Yeah.
any money
Let me
back
tell you
into it.
how fun it is now that everybody has decided that they need their food delivered to their door.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like all day long, all I see is delivery people just like standing outside.
DoorDash,
going like,
Amazon.
Is anybody gonna let me in?
Got that
Yeah.
building.
Well,
You
we
want
have
it?
been stolen.
Yeah.
It's already
Actually-
paid for.
Actually, that building, they get paid for food left on the stoop a lot, and the homeless people really enjoy that, the fresh hot.
No,
Yeah.
why wouldn't you? I mean, at that
Free
point.
for all.
And I like when, I'm like, if you're too lazy to come and grab your food from the delivery guy on the sidewalk.
Fair game.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
Realize where you live.
I'll try to ask the mayor's liaison.
Citizen
See
Academy.
if she knows anything about that.
Anyway, so dog walkers, identify yourselves in the group and get together.
Ruth.
We had talked about before we did the Citizen Justice Academy.
Yeah,
Met with
I
Sid.
dog walk and sit.
That's an ongoing process. that
Right,
the
right,
DA is
yes, I
doing in
do, I
order
do it for
for
living, mostly dog sit.
us to learn more.
Okay.
The Citizen Justice Academy, we had a meeting. It was the first course. They're gonna be doing multiple courses. And Brandy and I were both, our representatives from the Central City Neighborhood, Council.
Yeah.
And so it should be a recurring thing, like about every month or so. I think they'll be scheduling something. So we should be getting continuing and deeper understanding of our criminal justice system.
Is that something others can attend? Like, could you
I
share
mean-
dates, or is it two people who?
I,
signed up?
I could ask,
We can ask.
but as far as I know, they were like 2 seats from every city council, I
And
think
there's-
is what they were
Do
doing.
you
There's some,
share like the core takeaways from each of those?
Yeah,
no,
absolutely,
we-
yeah.
that's good enough.
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah,
there's
we can
certain,
get like all the presentation and the slides and everything like that, they give us also. we can
and there's certain
share.
trainings and meetings that are specifically only for council people, but, you know, I think we could ask at any meeting or training, you know, could this be open to someone else that's really interested?
I think, yeah,
Also-
just sharing like the core, because I think it'd be great for us to get those two takeaways. that you-
And if you, if you or anybody that you know really wants to have like some intimate time with
Yeah,
with
that's.
Sim Gill, like I said,
Every Friday, he
Yeah.
does it. in the afternoon.
it was a unique opportunity to be able to just
Okay.
take an hour on Friday or a half hour, I think is what they schedule, and you can go and talk to Sim Gill.
I've done it twice already.
I don't know that that's going to always be available, so
So there's your Tim.
if if you know somebody who's more palatable, maybe then. I'm pretty palatable.
Randy, neighborhood council meeting,
Yes, we have them. What's your
let's
question?
recap.
Oh, I was just
Oh.
recapping. There was something about parking, but you know, the person who had a parking issue wanted permitted parking, by the way, just so you know, permitted parking is being reevaluated.
Oh, yeah, Adrian brought that study.
If you want, you can hit up city to be like, we should totally get
Does that mean
permitted
we
parking.
start regulating more? Because right now it feels like they intentionally don't regulate, and I'd rather that
Right.
I'm
than have
kind,
to pay for a permit. Absolutely.
well, that's the thing too, it's like, even with like, when they do regulate it heavily and you get tickets really easy, I like that better than permitted parking myself. Permitted parking is great, I think, if you're trying to rent a place, because you can say, no problem, we have permitted parking. But permitted parking, we still have 5 spots, and now you're gonna have maybe 20 people with parking permits that are gonna fight for 5 spots.
Nope,
It's not going to be.
Nope.
Need less cars.
So our 5 free spots would then become permanent.
Yes, and then you would have to pay for your annual permit.
And then, wait, but would it open up the,
Maybe, maybe not, that's the whole thing.
that
Once you-
would be worse.
Once you open it up to be
That would
like,
definitely
we
be
want
worse.
permitted parking, you don't know what the end result is going to be. Maybe they would cut down more parking signs, but I kind of doubt
I kind
it.
of feel like a $45
neighborhood
ticket every
vendors.
3 months is better than paying $100+ for parking.
Yeah, also, we got the parking garages and they're evil, but that's.
They're
that's just a
so
little-
And I want to give a shout out to Bryce and Ben because they hardly use their cars. Whenever possible, they walk and they rarely use their cars for driving, so. Helping.
Bill and VOA.
Oh, do you want to talk about Bill and the VOA?
Okay, so my friend who just came by, is my friend Bill. He has had some he and I have been talking for a while. I will try and be brief in this because I realize everybody wants to go home, but he and I have kind of developed a relationship over time, just intermittently speaking here and there. Great guy, went through some really hard shit in his life and ended up on the street. Basically, his daughter and wife were walking to the grocery store in West Valley and were both struck and killed by a drunk driver that hit and run. And it kind of ruined his life. So now he is an unsheltered man. He's definitely used lots of drugs out here. He's seen some really serious shit. But the biggest thing and my biggest concern with him is that he has a very pressing medical issue. And we had been really trying to get him some medical services. I called the ambulance several times to get him over here, but he's just not really getting the medical attention that was needed, mostly because he's very visibly homeless. He's dirty, he's got frostbite, he's unkempt.
And that shouldn't affect him getting care. That's the thing. There's like.
It has been a serious challenge, huge challenge, right? So the reason why I kind of wanted to share this is because I've actually had really, really good success this last week with the VOA. And if you happen to interact with a person on the street who's desperately needing medical care, and honestly, if somebody's expressing to you that they want a path out of their like homeless life or whatever, I'm having a really good developing relationship with the VOA.
Dennis
moving-
Ferris.
Dennis Ferris is awesome and I really
Dennis
like
is
talking
really
to him.
good.
He's rad. but the medical officer's name is, Ed Snoddy, and
Ed Snoddy?
I think it's Snowdy.
Okay.
But I don't know why I
I
came
know-
up like
I
that,
know
I
that.
know. But he is a 25-year veteran in this trade. He actually left his prior profession to develop the medical program at VOA.
Mhm.
And he is a fucking rock star. He shows up lickety split. I am happy to share his information to anybody. If you have a person in your sphere who's really struggling and can't get the medical care they need, he will sit as an advocate with the person and actually make sure that they're receiving the level of care that they deserve, that we all deserve and should enjoy. And it's honestly the one thing that in being right here on this block and seeing all the shit I get to see every day, like, is kind of a big light shining upon me right now. And so I would just like to extend to everyone, like, if you need it, let's get in touch, and I'm happy to share forward his info, because they've
You've
just.
been constantly trying to help people that are getting ignored or pushed aside. by-
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that came up with this a few times too, that I think is something to be really aware of is Bill has run into the situation a few times where he says, I don't want help. And then there are a few times, more rarely, where he does want help. And I think a lot of times we'll see somebody on the street and be like, hey, do you need help? Or we see that they get help that comes and then they're like, oh, no, get away from me.
You're
Like, I'm
useless.
totally fine living this lifestyle and living on the street. They're not always going to feel that way, and they might. But if you can just always be open and receptive for when somebody does want help, that help is available, that's where lives are changed. So.
This is
Yeah.
literally a months-long project between Bill and I. He and I have been developing like a friendship over months at this point, and it's literally taken that for him to even acknowledge. Like today we had a chat and I was like, you know, you're worth a better life than this, right? And I like looked, he's kind of hunched over, so I have to kind of like look at him like this. And he kind of got a tear in his eye, and he's like, I finally am starting to hear you when you say that. And
And
I'm
imagine
like,
if we all connected with a person, just one of us, with one other person.
That's what I'm
that,
saying.
Exactly.
You know?
that's what
So-
I'm saying. So, I mean, not to like say everybody has to do exactly what I do, but if you're working with somebody and trying to like figure something out with them, keep at it, and just know, just like everyone else, we have good days, we have bad days. And you're gonna get that as you develop a friendship and a relationship with someone who's unsheltered. And there are actually resources out there that exist and are Johnny on the spot and will show up and actually give a fuck and
Yeah.
make a difference. And certainly the VOA at this point is engaging in that. So
Cool.
there are
And-
resources available.
And it is rewarding, like you do feel good, and it'll also break your heart. So.
So-
It's both for sure.
Real quick, Ben, just to add, I used to be homeless myself and I went through the VOA. So I do have to advocate for VOA. They have done tremendous work
They
and they
give a
really,
fuck.
they really do give a fuck.
They
And they are like even more limited than any of these other organizations.
They are a very
will still try.
limited,
Yeah, yeah.
and they're very
Doing more
limited
with
on what they
less.
can do, but with what they have and the resources that they have, they will put those resources to work.
Yeah, totally. That's been my experience thus far. It's
So-
been kick ass, so.
And
Next,
we'll add the upcoming festival season to our
yes,
agenda.
so, Living Traditions, May 17th to the 19th.
Oh, yeah. you can volunteer for that.
Yes, I do volunteer for that. They are looking for a plethora of volunteers. They need people. They have reached out to me to try and recruit people.
What is Living Traditions?
So
Multicultural.
it's a cultural festival.
The best festival in the city.
It really is.
Yes,
Other than-
quite
Go on an
literally.
empty stomach for sure.
Yeah, 'cause
Do
there's
not
Pride,
go
there's
yet.
that, there's Brewfest, there's all sorts of.
Do not eat before you go.
No, don't, do not.
Good food.
Actually, better yet, pass for 2 days before.
Yeah, straight up. Straight up.
Save yourself.
Utah
good.
Pride Festival is the first weekend in June.
I think
I
it's
am-
the end of June this year.
Nope,
No, okay.
Is it gonna go in front of the Hollywood? Do they have the route yet?
I
don't
don't
know
think
yet. I'm
Second
actually on the planning committee.
Oh, cool.
I'm helping plan the Pride
If
Festival.
you
this
could
year.
get it to go on, just same foot wrap that it was last year is cool. We got balcony seats.
And Ben actually saw me at the front of the marching rally coming down here. So I was up front. I always am with a megaphone yelling chants and all that.
Yeah.
I kind of want to plan the route to go from the Capitol down Main Street.
I missed
past-
it going to the Capitol. Like, years ago, I did it from the Capitol. We would go down the hill and all the people in the church buildings and various things were
Yeah.
looking out like.
Yeah,
It's kind of.
one of the
It's kind of
one of the deviations, normally it would go straight down State Street to Library Square. But one of the deviations I'm looking at is instead of coming straight down State Street Hill, hit Main Street, come back onto North Temple, hit State. And then maybe kind of weaving it out of the neighborhoods.
Man, you could zigzag all over the place.
Yeah, but Motors does not like when we
Right, more
zigzag.
street
Oh.
voters, the better.
Motors hate it.
I'm not a motor.
Screw the motorists, I mean, it's one day, I know.
Yeah,
You gotta
but
hit
motor-
all the bars
motors-
in
motors hate-
downtown.
We gotta keep them
Exactly.
safe.
Motors hates when we zigzag because they got it.
Everybody.
Yeah. Well, last year, I spoke with a sergeant on the Motors and he's like, why are you zigzagging? That means we
Make it
have to
different.
have more officers to block streets for you.
They appreciate the overtime. We put this barcode on here for the really terrible link that we have. There's the where you go on a website to get to the link, but there is no like nice link. for it,
And
but-
that's for new police calls for service.
Right, which updates every 10 minutes, which is
10,
super
15
often
minutes
because
or so.
previously we had to wait.
Well, no, it was 2 days, but before that it was 15 minutes until they did the spider update or whatever it was, and then they took it in-house to out-of-house, or I don't know the explanation, but
Yeah.
it was something, but.
I don't think he does either.
Once I just said, Chief Brown, we need it back, we need it back, we need it back, and I just kept harping on it.
And then
Okay.
the last is just acronyms and contact information. So. Yeah.
We talked about a lot.
We did talk about a lot and I do appreciate you guys letting me come up from Mill Creek.
We love having you. Thanks for
Uh,
coming.
Yeah.
I
Thank
tried,
you for taking your time.
I like I said, I was actually last year, I was up on Capitol Hill fighting for Code Blue.
And now they have 2 locations, right? Just recently, 2.
Unsheltered Utah has 2 locations.
Uh-huh.
Nomad Alliance still has their bus, which has been renovated,
Yeah, I've seen all the social
which
media.
I love. It looks really nice and it's a lot warmer than it was last year. I spent 16 days on that bus. But anyway, so Nomad Alliance has their bus, Unsheltered Utah has First United Methodist Church on Second and Second,
Yep,
and then St. Mark's, wherever that is.
it's on 39th South.
No,
and-
St. Mary's right across the street.
No, it's
Oh.
the St. Mark's Church. I know the hospital.
Oh, okay. my bad.
We're not using the hospital.
That's what's right over there.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So basically, they're still just checking them in at,
No, they're checking them both.
oh, now they start
Wow.
checking, before they were just.
As
checking
far-
them in
as far as
second
I-
floor, So.
As far as I know, they're doing,
Okay.
checking them on
They have
both.
a place on Redwood too, or is there another one?
So Redwood is the liquor
Is that
store.
the pastor?
Okay, in West Valley?
Yeah.
One? Okay.
It's right there off of 35th and Redwood.
Oh, yeah, that big, yeah.
That's just a winter overflow.
Okay.
Code Blue, also Salt Lake County has the Valley Behavioral Site on 10th South and Main Street.
That's one I was thinking
Yeah.
of, okay.
And so we have those, this session. I was fighting for 25 degrees with including wind chill. Current laws, the state 15 degrees with including the wind chill. Unfortunately, I did not get the 25, but I did get a win. It's now it's 18 degrees including. the wind chill.
I did hear on the news that they are reevaluating them.
I'm hoping,
So
I'm
at least you
hoping.
got them to
Yeah.
reevaluate,
Yeah, but
maybe next winter,
so
who knows, exactly.
So we did get a win, though, the new statute, when if Governor Cox decides to sign it. Says 18 degrees, including the wind chill. So it's a little warmer, but not much. But a win is a win.
Yeah, heck yeah,
So-
good job.
Thank you.
And
But yeah.
it's better than the last, what was last year when how many number of people froze to death? It was like unheard of, you know, it was.
Too many to count.
Yeah.
Quick question, work with emergency management.
No. So
So just, the new Red Cross mandate is that if emergency management requests that we open a warming shelter, we now accept. So previously we had to decline, but the Red Cross can open warming shelters now.
Okay.
By policy, but we have to be requested by emergency management.
Oh,
So if you
So-
would work with emergency management, there's possibility, I think we can do cooling shelters as well. And we have
Yeah.
sheltering agreements, I mean, around this.
So like, the rec center on 6th South and 3rd East is a warming center when it's open. All the libraries are warming centers. And then the shelters are warming centers as well.
That was another thing, when we were over there for the Central City Neighborhood Council meeting at the rec center, that
Yeah.
they were like, that they offer showers there. And I was almost like,
Yeah.
can we just like go and buy like a book of shower passes that like we could
To
give
give
out
out.
to people?
When they need it,
And
yeah.
what they say.
I didn't ask
We
them,
didn't
but
ask
that
them.
just
Oh.
reminded me, because you were talking about the community
Then I
center.
can email Katie and ask her that.
Yeah, if you can do that, that'd be great. But anyway, it is 8:45.
Well, thank you.
We
all.
went way over time. But it was, I gotta say, it was a very constructive meeting though.
I feel good about it.
So,
Thanks, everyone.
Yeah.
Appreciate y'all. Thanks for taking your time out of your night.